Welcome to Shirtless Talker Finance 101 5 Tips. Today, we're going to be over the 5 tips that you are going to have a university degree after learning these. Let's go through tip number 1, the time value of money. Now, the formula for the time value of money, it is the future value equals present value times 1 plus r. Now r is the interest rate to the power of n, which is time. Now, this is worthless to you. You don't care about the formula. You just want to know what it is, because at the end of the day, you're not going to remember the formula. You're going to remember what it means. The time value of money can best be explained as this. $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. And you're asking yourself, well, how does that make sense? How does $1 today mean more than $1 tomorrow? And the answer is in tip number 3 with inflation. Now, I want you to imagine 100 years ago. What could you buy 100 years ago with $1? Probably your entire damn grocery bill. Now, $1 can not even get you a candy bar. That is inflation, targeted at 2%. We will go over that in tip number 3. But the answer, time value money, $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. And the incentive, especially from the government, is to get you to spend your money, to increase spending and promote the buying of goods. Very important you understand that, because you want to spend now over possibly hoarding your money. Or you can invest, but we will get there. Tip number 2. Now, I made an entire video on tip number 2, compound interest. I explained compound interest like it was foreplay. If you are interested in that, it is on my YouTube channel. You can find it. Just look up explaining compound interest like it's foreplay, and I go in more in depth. But let's just give you the summary version. Again, I can show you the formula, but this graph right here is all you need to know. It's all you need to see. When you invest, let's just say you invest and you put in $300 every single month. Now, it's a little difficult to show you, but let's just say you put in $300 every month, and you do this for 45 years in the market, returning 10%. You are going to have roughly $2.6 million after 45 years. This is the graph. Now, let's say instead of investing when you're 25 to 65, 40 years, let's say you invest when you're 35 to 65. How much money do you think you'd have? You had $2.6 million from 25 to 65 investing in the market. How much money do you think you'd have? The answer? Not even $1 million. 10 years. You waited 10 years to invest, and you won't even have $1 million, but you could have 2.6. And that's because you're cutting off the latter half of the years. People think when they invest that they are losing these beginning years. You're not losing the beginning years. You're losing the end years, where you're going to be making the most amount of money. This is why compound interest is so important, because you're not losing the beginning years where you make no money. You're only putting in $300 a month, which, depending on who you are, that could be a lot, that could be a little. But $300 a month would be $2.6 million. But if you start 10 years later at 35, it's only roughly $950,000. Let's move on. Tip number 3, inflation and unemployment. Now, like I told you before, inflation is targeted at 2%. Why? Why is it targeted at 2%? Well, I want you to suppose for a second that inflation was 0%. Why don't they just have $1 always worth $1? The issue is that people, and especially how economies work, is that spending is good for the economy. When people trade, everyone benefits, and that's how the economy grows. But if inflation was targeted at 2%, the 2% inflation is like a fire under the butt of the American people, or any economy for that matter. But it's a fire. It's saying, hey, You need to spend your money because it's not going to be worth as much later. That's how you promote spending, is through this sense of inflation. Now, why do I also put in unemployment? Well, these things are actually inversely correlated under something called the Phillips curve. Now, the Phillips curve, why are they inversely correlated? Well, I'll tell you. I want you to suppose for a second that a company wants to hire more people. Well, if they hire more people, unemployment is going to go down. But if they hire more people, they're going to have to pay more for those people. And if they're paying more for those people, that's going to mean that there's more money in the pockets of more people. Those people are then going to spend more. Demand is going to go up for these goods. They are going to spend more for goods. Well, what is going to be the grocery stores or anyone's reaction to this? It's simple. They are going to charge more. And if they charge more, that means your dollar is now worth less. And if your dollar is worth less, that means inflation just went up. That is why these things are inversely correlated. Now, moving on to tip number 4, budgeting. I want you to follow the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your income goes to your needs. These are your needs. These are your renting. These are your food, your grocery, your kids, whatever you have, your college. 30% is going to go to your wants. These are your books, your games, anything that you don't immediately need. It's going to go to your wants. And 20% needs to be invested. It needs to be invested. But this is about budgeting. So how do you do this? Well, you're going to have your income. You have your gross income and you have your net income. Net income is factoring in expenses. Gross income is just your total take-home pay. So your net income typically is after taxes, is what you take home. Gross income is your total pay. Now, you take that net income and then you divide it between these, and you will be good to go. Finally, let's talk about stocks. I am going to give you the best financial advice you will ever receive on stocks. Now, people always want to know which ones are going to blow up. But if you try and play the market, you are gambling. You are not investing. You are gambling. But how do I not gamble? How do I get rich? I'll tell you. You're going to put these 20%, you're going to put it in an index fund. Choose any one you like, an ETF, and you're good to go. And that's it. What an index fund is it is the entire market. You're just basically going to take mostly large market capitalization stocks. Those are, think of the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, all these big, well, let's focus on the S&P 500 for this one. These are large market cap companies, and they have tons of money already into it. They're publicly listed. They IPO, initial public offering. They went into the market, and you can now own a chunk of this company. If you try to pick a specific stock, you are gambling. No matter what you do, you are gambling. Now, sometimes you can play the odds and do really well. Sometimes you play the odds and you do really bad. But if you just take the entire portfolio, you can diversify away the risk. And this is the most important rule of stocks, that you can diversify away risk to achieve a profit. Therefore, you are not gambling anymore. And I know what you're going to say. Well, what happens when the market crashes? And first of all, good for saying when the market crashes, because it will crash. Well, stocks go down and stocks go up. But if you look at the S&P 500 over its lifetime, I want you to look at that trend line. And when you see it going like this, just straight up. Yes, it goes down. but it comes back up. So that is the trick to stocks. Just invest in an index fund or an ETF. Which one? Anyone. Choose Vanguard Index Fund. Choose literally any single one, and you will be okay. These are my five tips of finance. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.